Jumbo, fellow adventurers, it's Mike Dooley. Happy Thursday, time for a spiritual tune-up. How do we fix inequality and extreme capitalism is the question today. Specifically, Mike, what can we do in the face of extreme inequality and entrenched capitalism to lift people out of poverty and homelessness? Okay, so there's some implied things here that need not be implied. I've got to tell you, I am a natural born capitalist, was for so long far leaning on the right hand side of the political spectrum, and I have actually drifted to the left side right now. But I'm not here to say that either side is right. In fact, it is naive to think that a system, whether it be capitalism or communism, is dead wrong. Moderation, like I said yesterday, blending. To think that we have three choices, four choices, dictatorship, communism, socialism, capitalism is like so silly. Why wouldn't it be a hybrid of all of those? Let's let's look at the baseline. We chose to be alive in these sacred jungles of time and space, and we knew we'd have to get along. And that should be easy because we're all sparks of God and we all are really cool, okay? And in getting along, we need to come up with a system to kind of make things work out so that we can kind of get together and agree on things and cooperate instead of compete, right? Do things together instead of only individually. Together we can get so much more done, like any species, than if we're all lone rangers, so to speak. Part of the equation of coming to the jungles of time and space is finding out what works for us and what doesn't work for us, and what worked for us last year might not work for us next year. I mean, look at some of the original settlers or inhabitants, the indigenous people. It was not socialism, it was not capitalism, it was not necessarily dictatorship. I don't even know if we know what it was, except we can see they were working together. It took a village to raise a family, kind of thing. And they were working with the environment as much as themselves. And then somebody invented currency and bartering and productivity and creativity and competition. A lot of that made possible enormous leaps forward in our evolution of consciousness, as well as the evolution of understanding the materials and the physical world. Is it possible that we could get a little bit out of whack and go too far, too extreme, to the point where if we're all competing against each other, that maybe this is not creating a cohesive unit? Absolutely. Let's make some adjustments. I know what it's like to believe in absolute freedom and survival of the fittest, and let each person survive and thrive based on their creativity and their work ethic, and let them go. Look, not everyone's there. Not everyone is all about building bigger, faster, better. And hey, what about family? What about love? What about the person who is not all about productivity and creativity, but they can write a song, man? Or they can listen to you like nobody else can listen to you. Every person is vitally important. I come from an Ayn Rand background. Somebody introduced that to me in my 20s. I devoured Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead, and I was crazed with her idea and philosophy of objectivism and the celebration of individuality, and her seeing man as kind of a god on earth. Even though she was an atheist, there was so much beauty in her work. But there was an underlying tone in all of Ayn Rand's work. Oh my God, what a giant among us this lady was. But the underlying tone was that the world was made up of two groups, the producers and the moochers, the productive and everybody else just riding on their coattails. And it's like, yeah, I am no longer of that ilk that I am a fan of Ayn Rand. I love so much of what she celebrated to this very day. And I love so much of what the right wing represents in terms of individual responsibility. But our responsibility needs to include our brothers and sisters, and needs to recognize that not everybody is in the throes of inventing and creating and marshaling the forces. In a utopian society. We would be motivated by the joy of creativity and participation and cooperation. We would not ever be motivated by more money, more money, more money. Let me have a bigger house. Let me have a faster car. That is so utterly juvenile. But you can have a bigger house and faster car if you include everybody. And there's the irony. But once that's no longer a measurement of your success and self-worth, even though you could have the bigger house, who wants a bigger house? It's more cleaning, right? Who needs to have the faster car? Let's all participate so that we can all enjoy life and all that it has to offer. A little example. Right now, I know some of my followers, readers, are really huge into the right side of things and, government, laissez-faire, get out of business. But you must be aware that in study after study, and people have gone, universities and psychological scientists have gone deep into this, the happiest countries, the populations where people are the happiest, are not the most capitalistic countries. The countries that are most capitalistic, cities or city-states or formerly Hong Kong or Singapore, or these are not the happy places. United States, oh my gosh, so not happy. Go to the Scandinavian countries. Go to, I don't want to be naming countries, many European countries. Go to Canada where there's a much more relaxed atmosphere. And you're going to find a happier group of people. I went to Switzerland and spoke a few years ago and chatted up the person at the front desk. And my gosh, I forget, she was making $25, $35 an hour. Now that's a very capitalistic place, but it's also got a very strong social fabric. And I'm not an expert on Switzerland by any means, but by having everyone at a level of a respectable salary, which, heavens no, we can't do that in the United States because, some people aren't worth that. They don't work hard enough for that. You take away their dignity when you don't pay them a living wage. Whereas I go to Switzerland, somebody who works at what would be considered a low-paying job in the United States has the ability to come to my event, and they can afford a $200 ticket for a day-long workshop. Whereas in the United States, it's like, no, those people are excluded from so much of what's going on. And if you say socialism is all bad and you point to Venezuela, oh my gosh, come on. Venezuela has dictatorial problems and other problems far more entrenched than just simply socialism. Socialism is practiced in many thriving countries in the world. I'm not going to name it because then you could say I'm wrong, but Germany, Japan, okay? There's a capitalistic, socialistic blend. What I'm getting at to answer this question is that it's not about an answer of capitalism. It's a matter of realizing we're experimenting and we're learning. Excuse me. We're experimenting and we're learning, and what was true before might not be true now. And where we see inequities and when we see people being marginalized and left on the sidelines, we have to fix it. They're not going to be able to fix it. So let's kind of blend and test and open our hearts and open our minds. How do we fix extreme capitalism? By having this conversation, by thinking about it. And please don't throw tomatoes. I'm not advocating socialism. I'm not advocating communism, but I'm saying there's a time and a place for most things. And when you get beyond the politics of it and you get into the home life of people in each of these economic models, there's love, there's joy, there's participation, and all of a sudden it is not everything to define the outside world economically, to find the love and joy that's in the household, that's in our hearts. So let's just consider all things. I'm all for capitalism, but we need to make sure it includes everybody, and the same thing with a more socialistic environment. We need to make sure that there are built-in freedoms and a sense of personal responsibility that goes along for every citizen. Okay, talk about walking the line, both sides. I hope I did each camp justice. Thanks so much for letting me answer these questions. These are spiritual tune-ups. I do them every single day. If you like them, there's a podcast at Apple or at Google. And if you're into the metaphysical and understanding the nature of reality and harnessing your power, then join me and David G. September 1, next week, in 6 days, 21-day adventure into meditation. He's the guru. He's the sage. Check the link below this live or recorded video on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll see you there for a price you choose as low as $27. Woohoo! All right. We're working to be inclusive, and I'll see you on September 1st with David G. Taliho amigos. Hasta pronto. And who do we have here today? Patty, thanks for tuning in today. And Patty with a Y and Patty with an I. And Brother Richard, thank you all so much for being here. Holly, glad you're here. Kelly Jean on Instagram. Rich, glad you're here on Instagram. Maka from Lahaina, if I said that properly. Aloha, mahalo. And we'll see you all tomorrow as well. Adios.